So what was the point of civilized society if it wasn't to make people's lives easier? You see, the conservative will argue that people should have to earn food and shelter and health care, that the lion has to work to eat by hunting, so why shouldn't we have to work to eat through employment? And I would argue that while I see their point, why are we comparing ourselves to barely sentient creatures when we are a highly evolved and intellectual species who's built a society that is fully capable of meeting the basic needs of every single human on the planet? And yet, we have chosen to instead recreate the jungle, but with tech, taxes, and credit scores. And if hard work earns you the right to food, shelter, and healthcare, then why are there billions of people on this planet working themselves to death and still don't even have that? We are working harder now than we ever have in all of human history. We work more hours and more days per year than the average peasant did under the feudal system. So what was the point of civilized society then? Because I thought the point was to make all of our lives easier, all the way back to when our early human ancestors discovered fire. We were constantly inventing things to make our lives easier. We invented tools to make hunting easier. We built shelters and invented farming to make survival easier. We invented laws and governments to make living together easier. The whole point was to make life easier. It was to pull us out of the wild so that we could put a life of survival behind us. So why are we inventing things that make our lives harder? Why did we build a society that constantly keeps us in survival mode when it doesn't have to be that way? We're intentionally doing things the hard way when we don't have to. And who is benefiting from a society that's operating in this way? Because it's certainly not the working class. It's benefiting a few people at the very top at the expense of all of the rest of us underneath them, including the conservatives who cheer this on, cheering on their own imprisonment. I'm convinced that conservative ideologies are the result of a child not being loved properly by their caregivers. These are adult children who grew up in authoritarian homes with parents who convinced them that they had to earn everything that they had, even their own parents' love. That they weren't entitled to their parents' pride and adoration simply because they were their parents' child. They were taught that they had to make their parents proud. That they had to be quiet and compliant in order to be listened to. That love was given because you proved yourself to be lovable, not because you were simply born lovable. That attention and affection was given under conditions, and that could be taken away at any point if those conditions were not met. And because of that, conservatives now have a worldview that everything must be earned, even if that thing is required to sustain life. And they refuse to imagine a world where that isn't our reality, because they know no other reality. They are still deeply unloved children, desperately trying to earn the right to be loved. Parenting is activism. The way that you love your child will determine their map of reality as an adult. I have said this once and I will say it a million more times. If we want a better society, we are literally going to have to raise one.